has
Yeah,
to be out,
yeah.
right?
Yeah,
It becomes an issue next week.
Yeah.
Just give it to them.
This morning for breakfast, had some Pop-Tarts, woke up a little bit later than planned.
What flavor?
I had a brown sugar Pop-Tart on the way down here. Meant to wake up at 5:45 this morning. Woke up at 8 a.m. That's not good.
No, we know enough about that.
All right, appreciate it. Are you good now?
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
They might be delayed by 5 or 10 minutes. I guess Pugh has a bill up in committee that is getting a lot of questions. So, just hang in there.
Are you gonna go to white balance? Everybody?
Yes. I'm wishing I had a Pop-Tart for breakfast. I did not eat anything,
no
so
breakfast.
now I'm.
I got another in
very
the
hungry.
press room if you want.
No. But thank you though. I have like
Because it's brown
snacks
sugar
in my
cinnamon.
desk.
It's really good too. I love it. The only thing missing is a little toaster.
Can't take another man's Pop-Tart.
You can pop it in the microwave.
Yeah.
It's not quite the same. But.
No.
I just want to say a microwave is the way to go with Pop-Tarts.
With a little butter on
It's so
top.
much better. It gets
With
it
a little
softer on
butter.
the inside.
I've heard about butter on
Bro,
Pop-Tarts.
you
Yeah.
can.
I've never done that.
Bread,
I
you
sit
get the
down in the trenches.
blueberry
Yeah, but like,
unfrosted,
you got time.
And then always melt butter on the top. No, it's just like.
A little much.
Yeah.
Cinnamon, I'm making hungry. Cinnamon rolls are the best with butter on top.
Yeah. God, now you're all just making me hungry. Okay, cool. Also, it did not end up working for my Wi-Fi.
It did not,
When I
okay.
logged back onto my phone, it was like
To check my
unable
link.
to connect.
Okay.
Yeah, they were wondering how they were going to feedback the sound. I told them we're just going to, we don't plan to stay here, cut it. I don't see a point far enough for this. If we're coming back right after, so.
Your day's done after this. Amazing. I said, yeah, well, we're doing your TBD on your other story. It was so snapshot. Cool, cool, cool. some point just like one after another and make Thursdays easy or what?
Oh, yeah, probably not. Everybody's very like, they wanna do it in their own space. So, I would make it too convenient for
Well,
you
of
all.
course.
But you gotta get your steps in. You can go
That's why I
across
do
the
it.
Capitol.
Let's make sure we get ourselves in. That's why.
They're on debate, so should be wrapping soon.
Well, I tried to get the media center to create seat cushions.
Nice, like
Say-
branded?
Yeah, that's right, branded, and the slogan was supporting competent journalists. Rob wasn't down with it? No. It was widely panned.
You know, it would be rare used, but.
Anytime you're in court, sometime you're up at 5:35, and you've got to get on those benches on the side.
And then when I think of it,
Yeah, I haven't really checked on all of the recent motions and stuff. I don't know. I'm gonna wing it. I'm gonna send it to you, like, just show up. I think they're just gonna start where they left off.
That's like there's something to argue about before they do that.
They've spent 2 years arguing about the judge and the attorneys and everything else, so hopefully they just keep There's a separate court date set. Okay, I saw that in April, yeah. In April, yeah. So, I don't know if that's gonna come out. Clearly the judges want to go forward with the hearing. Yeah. Without that being addressed. Yeah. I know, right? Silly. Yeah. Bailey, is Thursday's meeting gonna be interesting?
We're doing a presser after. Jennifer, I am trying to get your information for you right now. I think it was a coding issue.
Okay, well, I was gonna ask.
I have no idea. I wish I had more for you. I will find out today though.
Okay, thank you. Is it
You're very
presser-
welcome.
Is it just gonna be like a general availability after the meeting, or is it gonna have a specific?
Probably like this. We'll just be answering general questions, so.
Well, half your education reporters will be on. Yeah.
What was that?
A lot of the education reporters will be on. Well, I'll be in court, so. It's missing.
Would it be better if we did it on a different day then? I mean, how many of y'all are we talking?
At least 3.
At least 3?
I'll be in court, yeah.
probably
Yeah,
still
she'll be
high
in
watch.
court.
Okay.
And they might send somebody else.
You won't be there?
Well,
It's gonna be a really boring one then, yes. The only thing that makes it entertaining is when we have reporters come and ask us interesting questions, so otherwise they're boring again.
yeah.
No, I think it's gonna be a relatively short one, but if you have any questions after, I'll get with him and see if we wanna set up another one so that everyone can get their questions answered. Get their sound. You don't require sound, so.
They seem real excited. I was laughing because Webster had one of their little buses that went to, across all these different, things.
Okay.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you all for being here. We are excited to have kind of the education team and a lot of leaders in the Senate to talk about some great education ideas today. I want to begin by recognizing all the leaders standing around me today who've done tremendous work as they develop a responsible way to fund a very strong education package. I will let them walk through the details of how this plan is funded because they deserve credit for putting it all together. I simply want to be here to publicly say how unique this proposal is, especially in a year where we've talked about keeping the budget very, very tight. They found a way to make meaningful investments in education once again in our state using no new money, and that is worth highlighting. I also want to give special recognition to Senator John Hast, who came up with this idea, and that'll be part of the presentation today. So with that, I would like to recognize our Chairman of Education, Senator Adam Pugh. Senator Pugh.
Thank you, Mr. Pro Tem. Thank you, members, for coming to be supportive of this plan. Folks, about 6 weeks ago, I stood in front of you in this very room, and I said the plan that we were presenting you for education this year wasn't a wish list. And I think what you'll see today was we didn't just file bills and hope that we could find some dollars in the couch cushions. My colleagues represented here on the stage, and some of them who couldn't be here today, worked very hard to come up with a responsible funding plan that does maintain revenue neutrality, but does allow for another significant investment. And so what you'll see before you is a number of ideas with funding sources attached to them. What we found in the end, if we want to increase educational outcomes across the state of Oklahoma, not only do we need a plan, but we have to invest in the people that implement that plan. And so that has been very consistent from the Senate Education Committee over now my 6 years, and that's what you'll see before you. So it starts with the men and women in the front of the classroom every single day. And we have heard that we are last in our region in terms of starting salary for teachers. And so we are advocating for a $2,500 across the board pay raise. That cost would be $117 million going forward to the state of Oklahoma. We know that the number one policy issue in the legislature this year in education, and both chambers, will be literacy. And while you've heard me say literacy has to start in the home, and I will continue to emphasize that, having a great teacher that is aligned with science of reading instruction, the discipline of how children learn how to read, how they learn how to encode phonetics and syllables and words, takes an investment in professional development, in teacher prep programs, and a high-quality, well-trained teacher every single day at the front of that classroom. So I'm advocating and asking for $50 million to be put into the Strong Readers Act. That's a formulary that has already been developed by the State Department of Education. Right now, it's about $17.5 million that the legislature line items into that formulary. I'm asking for an additional $50 million. The impact to schools would be the amount of money that they get through the Strong Readers Act formulary would triple if we put an additional $50 million in. We have also talked about educational choice, and we don't just emphasize public education. We represent all parents, all families, and all kids in the state of Oklahoma. And so it is important to the Senate leadership that we expand the parental choice tax credit. So there was a piece of legislation that moved yesterday out of the Revenue and Taxation Committee, and that piece of legislation in this plan is funded with a 10% increase to the PCTC, and now putting $275 million into that program. We are, I believe, at 98.4% capacity of the dollars available for the PCTC, and so we'd be expanding that program. At the maximum rate, you would be allowing nearly 4,000 students more to access that program. Depending how the tier breakdown would go, we could see up to an additional 6,000 or 7,000 students be eligible to claim that tax credit and choose a school of their choice. In working with what you all know as the HEROES team, which is the literacy coaches that started via a pilot program that myself and Representative Baker ran 3 years ago. That program is expiring. We want to continue that program and scale it successfully and responsibly. And they have a great framework right now where they've been able to reach 132 schools across the state but the leader of that program is asking for additional dollars, and so we're putting an additional $10 million into that program. We've also removed the pilot provision of that program, so that is now a permanent program to have well-trained literacy coaches from the State Department who will be working in coordination and collaboration with school districts across the state of Oklahoma. To my right here, your left, is my vice chair, and we've talked a lot about not only literacy, but numeracy. We don't want to be a decade from now where we see our reading scores and proficiency rates in early childhood reading #1 in the country, which is our goal, but now we're behind in numeracy. And so we have to be able to bifurcate these policy areas, because we know that though reading is the foundation of educational attainment, these students are going to enter a very high-tech, fast-paced workforce and inherit an economy that's going to require some nature of STEM skills. And that has to start with numeracy skills as early as possible. And so there's a piece of legislation, Senate Bill 1360, and now matriculating through the process, and we're going to be asking to put $10 million into that program. It'll be very similar to the Heroes Literacy program that was piloted 3 years ago. There are some states that are doing this very well. We want to mimic the things they're doing well, but also learn lessons from them. And so we've been working with education leaders across the state to kind of build out the foundations of that program and put numeracy coaches and numeracy experts into school districts as well. My colleague from Broken Arrow is very passionate about ensuring that every county has access to the Dolly Parton Imagination Library and the books provided to families through that program. And so he and the chairman of Appropriations, Senator Hall, wanted to ensure that every county in the state of Oklahoma has access to that program. It's been a great program. Dolly Parton has been nationally known as one of the leaders in the United States talking about early childhood literacy. That program seems to have been very successful, but the investment we currently make, we are not able to reach every county through the county library system. And so with an additional $5 million into that program, we will confidently be able to reach every single library, every single county across Oklahoma. We are also trying to focus on the recruitment of great men and women and the next generation of leaders into education. And so through the Next Stead scholarship program, I'm asking to double the scholarship amounts available to students who enter teacher prep programs across our state. So I'm asking for $4.5 million into that program. And then we want to take a multi-generational approach to reading, because again, it starts in the home. And so there's a number of programs that have been widely successful in getting age-appropriate books and developmentally appropriate books that are kind of tailored to where children are in their reading journey. And so there are a number of programs. We will be vendor agnostic, but these are books that are tailored to where a child is based on where they score and what their interests are. These books get into the hands of parents as well, and they go home with kids. And so there's a program to get those books and kind of uniquely tailored and packaged. We're going to identify first graders in every classroom across the state of Oklahoma to be eligible for this program, and that's an additional $2.7 million. That total investment is $254 million. That will increase our per pupil expenditure quite significantly, but it maintains revenue neutrality, which I think, as the Pro Tem mentioned, is really important in this budget year. And I'm going to turn it over to the Chairman of Appropriations, Senator Hall, who's going to walk you through the way we were able to access these dollars and pay for a very significant investment into education across Oklahoma. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Good morning, Mr. Pro Tem. Thank you very much to my colleagues up on the stage with me today. Thank you for your continued hard work as we address the education priorities here in the state of Oklahoma. Mr. Superintendent, it's nice to see you in the audience today as well. I want to talk to you a little bit about the funding associated with this plan. If you go back to the early 2000s, you saw that the teacher retirement system was pretty much in a free fall. At the time, TRS was one of the most poorly funded state pensions that we had in this country, coming in a little bit below 50%. Through legislative action that we took back in 2003, taxpayers began propping up the pension system. None of us wanted to see this system fail, and the retirees were due their retirement income. So since then, the legislature and the taxpayer have invested over $7 billion in retirement benefits through an apportionment of sales tax and use tax and income tax. Currently, that's at 5.25%. When our Senate Education Policy leaders began talking with me about our state's pressing needs and how those needs could be funded, I empowered our appropriations team to be creative on finding sources of funding without growing government, if at all possible. That's when my vice chair over here to my right, Senator John Haste, presented me his evaluation of the TRS apportionment, which became the cornerstone of our funding proposal today. The proposal will not decrease the more than $25 billion currently held in assets at TRS or affect the money paid out to our retirees each year. That's roughly $1.7 billion in this most immediate last year that was paid out in benefits, and it still helps to prop up the system financially to the tune of $200 million each year. So we'll continue to provide extra dollars and grow the fund. The plan caps extra TRS, the extra TRS deposit to $200 million, which frees up $254 million that we can use to invest in the urgent public education needs, and we're doing that with existing dollars, as Senator Pugh told you. So I think my final comments are as follows. With the TRS serving approximately 70,000 retirees currently, the system should be strong, and it is strong, and there is no reason to think that it won't stay that way. Employer contributions will continue. Employee contributions will continue. The TRS investment portfolio has generated an annualized 5-year return of over 10% and will continue with an additional $20 million in annual deposits. So the current TRS system is at 80%. It will remain that way. No benefits will be cut, and we'll be able to fund these good policy decisions that the Senate will be making very shortly. Thank you.
I was hoping the pro tem would conclude us, but we'll take some questions, and obviously we've got Senate leadership here, my vice chair, and be happy to take any questions, and you can direct them whichever way you'd like.
Real quick, yes or no, off-district, off-formula districts, are they in this across the board or not?
No.
It's been
They're not.
so it's not across the board.
Would it raise the minimum schedule?
It would raise the minimum. It would raise the minimum schedule by $2,500. The vast majority, especially those off the formula schools, are already paying that additional above the minimum salary schedule. The 2023 pay raise, we did include that, and we've had to run a number of cleanup bills, and we will continue that. But that's for that pay raise only. They are not included in this pay raise.
I guess that begs the question. We've seen this fight before several years with the House. Where is the House? And Senator, did you go tell your counterpart yesterday? Is that why I saw you in the House hallway? What is their reaction initially?
Trace, you always have eyes on everything, don't you? So I did meet with my House counterpart. I wanted to give Representative Caldwell a heads up on the announcement today, and all I can tell you is that he received my report.
I've spoken with the governor as well.
I have not spoken with the governor or the governor's team directly. On Tuesday is historically the day that our budget teams get together for a lunch. That budget meeting is scheduled and will take place at noon today, and I fully expect that there'll be a discussion on this announcement.
You mentioned that you gave the report to the House Appropriations Chair. Was there any comments at all from him? Did he say like, "Oh, we're looking at this too," or no?
He thanked me for giving him a heads up and received the report.
Could I ask about the pensions in general? You said they're over 80%, I think maybe 84% funded, and that has been an accomplishment Republicans have touted as states like Oregon and other states have grappled with massive unfunded pension obligations. I'm curious, there has not been a cost of living adjustment passed, if I'm not mistaken, since 2020. And in other days, you guys talk a lot about how the price of goods and the cost of living has skyrocketed since the pandemic. So I don't see a COLA for those existing retirees in here. Where is the Senate Republican caucus on that?
Yeah, thank you very much. I don't think this plan really eliminates the option for COLAs when they're available. Under the Pro Tem's leadership, he's very wise in wanting to see that those COLAs are funded. Again, nothing really affects the pension system or the benefits for our retirees. I do think that all of us are very cognizant of those that are struggling, particularly with inflation, et cetera. I think you've seen the Senate truly take the lead on tax policy and tax reform. We saw the largest tax cut in state history last year with the elimination of the grocery tax, or a couple of years ago. You saw a 25 basis point cut in income tax. You saw elimination of 3 tax brackets, and so that's relief that is given directly to all Oklahomans. And so I don't believe that this plan has any direct impact on the future of COLAs. I think they're always an option as long as we look at the funding mechanisms associated with it.
Let me ask that another way. We've got 6 of you here. Show of hands. Raise your hand if you support a COLA for retired educators this year.
Let me intervene on that. We don't, yeah.
We got a hand.
Yeah.
We got one hand.
Okay. So when it comes to how this is funded, anybody that's watched my career in 10 years in the legislature, I probably cast more no votes on pension benefit increases than probably anybody in this building, and that's because I want to see those things funded. I want to see us pay for them as we go, take very seriously. So when this plan was brought to me, I also started it with, okay, walk me through all this. And so you look back at the years that we put into the teacher retirement system. Teacher retirement system, back in the 1980s, money was pulled from that to pull the police and fire out of the depths of almost bankruptcy of their systems. And so we needed to pay those teachers back. This started in the early 2000s. Now it's several $billion in extra money, and the extra revenue has been put in that with dedicated revenue from the sales tax, from use tax, from income tax. And so that is going to continue, but when we look at the levels the teacher retirement fund is at now, we can back off that a little bit. We're still putting in there, I think it's anticipated over $450 million is anticipated. This uses $254 to fund this plan, which is good for our current students and our current teachers to help move this whole program forward. It also allows an extra $200 million to still be going in excess of employer contributions and employee contributions. Still, the legislature is putting $200 million more into that system. We do anticipate that system is going to continue to grow in size. There are multiple bills in every pension rolling through the system right now about COLAs and everything else that goes along with it. So that's all still being looked at. This plan is dealing with what we've talked about here today. So all those bills are still alive. They're still working their way through the system, but we are not backing off the state's extra contribution to keep that system strong. We, in fact, are continuing that, just lowering the level a little bit so everything can continue moving in the right direction.
I have a question, a little bit unrelated to education, but I wanted to talk about your bill that passed the standing foster care services through HQ. Can you talk about that, why that was important, and your expectations moving forward?
Sure. As I mentioned in my Thursday press conferences, I've had the opportunity all year long to travel the state of Oklahoma, visit with senators in their districts. And one thing I always say to them is 2 things. What's going on in your district I might not know about, I might be interested in. And the other one is, what are you hearing from your constituents? When you're at town halls, tell me what the feedback is. This came from a meeting I had with Senator Roland Peterson in Enid at the Greer Correctional Facility there. And I'm sorry, not correctional facility, but the Greer Center there. And when I was meeting with some advocates for foster care, I wasn't aware. First time I've been exposed to the fact that when foster care kids, these young people, when they hit 18 years old, the state just washes their hands of them. We're done. And so I challenged every senator that I've talked to about this. Imagine yourself when you were 18 years old. If all of your support just disappeared that day because you turned 18, where would you be at today? My guess is myself and everybody else would not be representing the state in the state Senate. It puts you in, and you look at the statistics, totally back that up. I saw a statistic yesterday that DHS gave me that 18-year-olds who term out of foster care, by the time they're 20, 42% of them have been incarcerated in one form or the other. That's dismal. We have to fix that. So this became one of those deals I stumbled onto this summer because of my going out and meeting with people. Senator Peterson brought this up to me. Give him credit for exposing me to understanding this, and I've taken that issue on. As I've dug into it more, I realize we are doing those children. They have been dealt tough blows their entire life. and the final blow they get is from the state of Oklahoma, and we just say, we're done with you because you turned 18. This simply puts it at 21, gives them a better chance, gives them an opportunity. At 21, you're a lot more, you've been exposed to a lot more life, you're a lot more likely to be able to move forward. Another thing, on the same program we're talking about here today, I'll tie it back to education. Most 18-year-olds are still in high school. They end up as dropouts because they have no more support. And so that is something that this thing helps keep these kids in school, giving them an opportunity to at least graduate high school, but also maybe move into a career tech or move into a college. And so that's what that program is about. It's one of those, honestly, I stumbled onto it this summer, and I just said, this can't be right. We're surely not just turning these kids loose, but we are. And so now, that program is also optional. If they turn 18 and say, I'm done with the state of Oklahoma, I want to go do something else, they're welcome to do that. But if they do that for a year and say, okay, maybe I need that sport, this bill allows them to come back in at any time before they're 21 years old into that system. So.
Back to education a little bit. The state superintendent just walked out, but I was going to ask you guys if you'd actually had conversations with him about this plan and what that had gone like. Were they a part of it?
They were not. They were not a part of it. In late January, myself and the House Chair of Education Appropriations, Representative Caldwell, had a public budget hearing where the State Department, like all of the agencies that are in our purview, were allowed to come and present their budget priorities. The budget priority presented to us was a $23 million request to fund the flex benefits allowance. There were no other funding requests there. So I think we know, just based on that budget presentation, where the State Department is in terms of their request for funding and their priorities. And now it's up to the legislature to work through the appropriations process, funding the policies that we feel needed to be implemented this coming year.
I wanted to ask about the differences in your version of the Strong Readers Amendment and Speaker Hilbert's. I know yours is a little bit softer on retention in first and second grade with the transition classes. His is a little more strong on retention. How is that conversation going?
I would encourage you to read the committee substitute. So there's a committee substitute that will be heard today. And our retention is very strong in third grade. I think the biggest difference, the two largest differences in the legislation is we also address teacher prep programs. We know there's a number of teacher prep programs because myself and my vice chair hear from the graduates of those programs that they are not receiving science of reading instruction, and schools are having to remediate in some sense. But colleges of education across the state of Oklahoma are supposed to be producing graduates with micro-credentials in science of reading if they are an early childhood educator. And that is not happening across every teacher prep program in the state. So number one, Senate Bill 1778 addresses that by allowing OEQA to do an audit of those programs and put programs on probation if they are not doing science of reading aligned instruction for early childhood educators. The second thing that difference in my bill is while we have third grade retention, we want to identify and intervene significantly earlier. By third grade, it's too late, and that's kind of the break glass in case of emergency option. But if we get first line instruction right, if we are able to identify a kid because the teacher is prepared, has the right resources, has the right tools at their disposal, we identify a child as early as possible and we make the right interventions and see gains, we'll never have to get to that point, and that's the goal. So I do focus much more heavily on the K1 and 2 by offering some flexibility for transitional programs or perhaps a pull-out program where there is high dosage intervention going on during the school day.
Chairman Pugh, I've got a quick question about the parental choice tax credit expansion. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the teachers' retirement system benefits public school teachers. So I guess explain the rationale behind using the remaining funds from capping that system to then pay for the expansion of the parental choice tax credit.
Yeah, I want to be clear here because this is a point that can't be missed. We're not capping the contribution. The state has been paying above and beyond the traditional contribution to catch that fund up from what I believe was 46% 2 decades ago to now just over 80%. And the state will continue to make an additional payment. So that fund will continue to grow, not just because the fund itself is earning interest on the $25 billion of invested assets, but the state will be paying above and beyond now $200 million. But I'm the chair of education. And so I don't have to separate charter school education, private school education. Everybody up here represents every single one of those families. And to a number of those families, this program has been a lifeline. And if this program wasn't popular, then we wouldn't be at 98.4% capacity right now. I'm going to hand it over to Pro Tem for some remarks.
Okay. Thank you. All right, thank you all for being here. I'm going to finish up with this. One thing that we looked at was kind of the ratio of funding that we're looking at here. This is a 10-to-1 public education to the parental tax credit. It's just $25 million compared to $250 million. So it's a 10-to-1 ratio on the funding. But on the same note of what was kind of asked earlier, you know, I did travel the state, and I really did ask people, you know, what are you hearing? Ask all the senators and the reps I talked to as well, what are you hearing? And it's education, 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 and the cost of home ownership, which could be a mix of insurance and property taxes. Those are the two main things. Legislators take the comments from our constituents extremely seriously, and you see bills addressing that. This team right here, along with the rest of the Senate, is addressing the issues. We are addressing the issues related to what we're hearing from constituents. So we are taking all this seriously. We're looking at it very seriously. The House of Representatives is doing the same thing. They are working very hard at it. We're working very hard at it. We have very, very common goals. Our roads to get to those goals may be a little bit different, but we have common goals, and that's to make sure our kids are ready for the workforce. And so the legislative session, you know, God bless the system that we have in this country with how things work through the legislative system. Oklahoma and every other state, we all have our processes that we go through. This process we have in Oklahoma is time-tested, and it works. It's not always perfect, but there's no better thing out there. We will work our way through our committees, work our way through the floor, work our way with our members, the House members, the governor's team, and the Department of Education. We will find a solution for this because we know this is top of mind for Oklahomans. And one thing I am very, very proud of is the teams that the Senate has in place to make this happen. You look at the people standing next to me here, the right people in the right place to make this happen. I'm very confident in our committees. I'm very, very confident in the people that are standing up here and everybody else in the Senate that we will be working hard. I'm also confident with my friends in the House that they will be doing the same thing. So please monitor this as we go along. I'm sure Thursday when I'm here for press availability, this is going to come up again. I'm happy to talk about it. I think it's all we'll do today, but thank you all for being here, and we will keep you tuned. Appreciate it. Thank you.